let's do this. Let's go. Let's make this kind of skinny. And let's put this over here. Ooh, that's right in front. Okay. That's right in front. There we go. Fantastic journey. Fantastic journey. That could be a couple of things. It could be that you solo sailed around the world or smoke some DMT. I don't know. From what I understand, DMT is pretty wild stuff. Never done it. Everybody that I know who has says that it is incredible. Strangely, I did see one guy who had a very bad trip on dimethyltryptamine, which is something that your pineal gland produces when you sleep. The theory is that it might be what makes you dream. So this one guy who had a really bad trip became kind of famous on YouTube because in his analysis of his horrible trip on DMT, which nobody seems to have, he said that he saw one of the entities. If you don't know anything about DMT, it's a rabbit hole you need to go down. DMT is produced in very large amounts by your brain when you die. But it's also produced in larger amounts than normal when you fall asleep and you dream. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Today is Monday. You're shitting me. Is it really? Fuck. Is today really Monday? Of course it is. How could it not be? I've been watching the market all day. Holy moly, working for yourself. It's like you've got an asshole slave driving son of a bitch for a boss. Never get a day off. And wow. Yeah, Sunday fun day just a second ago. So anyway, this guy who said he had a bad trip on DMT, he kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit while he was talking about this terrible trip. He mentioned that he saw an entity. Now, a lot of people see entities. A lot of people ask these entities questions. What's the meaning of life? Why am I here? Why are you here? Who are you? You know, the average stuff. Well, he said that he didn't really have any questions per se for this entity. And then, bam, he got booted out of this place where people go exactly to see these elves. And he can't get back in. When he does DMT now, he doesn't get high at all. He doesn't have hallucinations or manifestations or whatever you want to call them. Nothing happens. And he said, you know, I don't know why this thing. Why are you listening to me? Because I'm a veteran, and secretly, you wish you were me. And you could be me if you joined the Marine Corps instead of the Air Force. Am I right? You a chair force guy? Only for the benefit. So this guy, by the way, this guy says he's talking to himself and he gets kicked out. That's exactly right. They won't let him back in no matter what. And he mentions that he just wanted some proof that he'd been there, which is the only reason he took anything. And it's like, wait, you're shitting me. You tried to steal something from these elves? Army, 70 to 72. Okay. That's a little more respectable. I like you without joining. Shirley, you should not join the Marine Corps. You'll ruin them because you're so nice. And Marines should not be nice. They don't make good, nice people. Now, I will say this: Marines do get a little, a little weak in the knees, little misty-eyed when it comes to rescue missions. We do like to rescue people. It's a hero complex thing. But usually we enjoy breaking shit, blowing it up, burning it down, whatever. Um, so yeah, this guy admits that he's stolen or tried to steal something from the elves in this trip on DMT. And when they caught him, the one he was talking to, who, when he saw it, it said, "Go ahead, ask your question." Weird, right? Like, these elves expect us to ask questions. Oh, no. No, no. I believe much more. What's the word I'm looking for? Not the first part. The first word that popped into my mind was vociferously, but that's just for talking. And then I thought, sorry, profusely. Thank you. It just popped into my head. No, I bleed much more profusely than most. At 330 pounds, apparently I have a lot of blood. So, yeah. Yep. And I found out that I am not actually bulletproof the hard way. And I found out that I'm not knife proof the hard way several times. Being a combat swimmer is a lot of fun sometimes. Like, I'll give you an example. When you're not doing anything, when you're not actually in the ocean, that's when it's the most fun. And don't get me wrong, I like swimming in the ocean. As long as it's within, a few hundred yards of shore now. Any farther than that, and man, there's just too much room between my feet and the bottom. Oh God, no, I'm not on blood thinners. That would not work. Although I do have to donate blood. I gotta do phlebotomy every once in a while because I make an enormous amount of red blood cells, huge amount, which is awesome. I heal really, really fast, which for a Polak is a good thing. If you're a Polak and a Marine, you need to heal really fast, most likely. That's probably a good thing for you. So anyway, yeah, these elves are interesting. Never done DMT, never done dimethyltryptamine. A lot of veterans do now. That's one of the things that they use for PTSD for people, which is awesome. I think it's great, man. Look, psychotropic drugs are ask any hippie. They're amazing when used correctly. And when I say used correctly, used as what they were designed by God for, I believe, and that is medicinal purposes. Cane toad venom. No thanks. I have heard some really nasty, nasty stories about that. I'm not a big cane toad fan. But hey, mushrooms, other than the fact that they taste absolutely disgusting. And I've had lots of them. Lots of them. When I first got in the Marine Corps, I was so tightly wound that there were times when I had a hard time not losing my temper because I was in the 10 item line and I made goddamn sure I had 9 items because I didn't want to be that guy. And the guy in front of me's got 14 items. And I would be like, I just want to rip their head off. And I'd be pissed and gotten a lot of fights. And I've never started one. I never said, "Hey, asshole, you got 14 items." I kept that to myself. But if somebody in a bar were being a bully or what have you, just anything along those lines, threatening his girlfriend, whatever, just being an asshole, Oh boy, I was all about that. So, in a way, you can't call yourself, you know, innocent if you're walking around all day looking for issues, and I was. And then I did shrooms, and that was interesting. Did MDMA, that was very interesting. Um, MDMA is very harsh, even when it's really pure. It's very harsh, but shrooms were, I don't know. I had the things that happened to me when I was on them. I'll never forget George Mason, a hippie who would, it was absolutely hilarious. This is back in the 90s when I was very like uptight, you know, button down collars, always wearing a suit, blah, blah, blah. Um, Look at all that silver. Wait, it's your hair. Oh, trust me. I know. Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind that. This, this was, this was rough because this was turning gray. Fuck gray. I have no interest in turning gray. Look, when I feel like I should turn gray, I'll turn gray. But in the meantime, I got too much shit to do. So I just put a little natural color in here. They said it was blonde. This is it's like saying that my shirt is tan. It's like this is complete. They were completely off on that, and I only put it in for 5 minutes, like they said. Don't know what happened there. Anyway, yeah. After George Mason said, "Hey, why are you acting differently today?" He worked for me. I couldn't stand him. He was a super easygoing hippie guy who always had something nice to say and never seemed upset about anything. Just drove me nuts. And he would wear his suit to work because we were stockbrokers, but he would wear Sperry topsiders without socks. Like, what are you doing? And he loved knit ties. Oh, no, knit ties. So I said to him, what the hell are you talking about? And he goes, there's something different about you this morning. Now, this is on a Saturday when nobody came into work. It was just me. I opened the office for everybody because I just figured, you know what? Silver's going 150. No question. I just figured, hey, speed of the boss, speed of the crew. And I was the boss. So I opened the office for everybody on Saturday morning, and I would be there for most of the day just in case somebody wanted to come in. Wasn't necessary. George was there. We were the only ones there. He goes, there's something about you that's different today. I said, what do you think that is? And he goes, I don't know. Something's different. You seem mellower. I said, mellower? So what gives you that impression? He goes, I don't know, man. What'd you do last night? I said, just hung out with the guys. He goes, you hung out with your buddies? And I said, I just hung out with my buddies. He said, and that's it. I said, yeah, I mean, we just hung out and, did some shrooms. He goes, what? I said, we just did some shrooms. And he goes, you did shrooms? And I said, yeah, sure did. He goes, so that's what's different. And I was like, oh, man, shut up. That's not going to change my life. And he goes, oh, you've been to the Hall of the Mountain King now. And I was like, I love that song. I love Grieg, but I don't know what the fuck that means. He goes, you'll see. Yeah, he was absolutely right. It did. It really did. It just took the edge off. A few more times, took the edge off a little more. What happens is you realize there's something else out there. Don't know what it is. There's something on the other side, though. It's undeniable. There's something on the other side. On the side of what? Call it whatever you want. Call it the veil. Call it whatever you want. But there's something on the other side. So, whatever it is, that's where we're going. So, it really does take the sting out of the idea of death. And they actually do give MDMA. They give ecstasy now to people who are dying, and acid. LSD is used on dying patients because the reality is once you've been there, once you've been sort of through the veil, if you will, you know, you know that this isn't all there is. Like what you can stand on, pee on, or chew on is not all there is in the universe. There's other shit out there that's going on that's pretty cool. By the way, I didn't miss the question about gold. Let's say gold doubles, which it could easily double. If it doubles and we go to a 15-to-1 ratio, I will ask Google, and you will hear the response yourself, I believe. Google, if gold goes to $9,000 an ounce and silver is at 15-to-1 ratio, what does that make silver? That's what I thought. $600 an ounce. Heck yeah, double D. I mean, I don't know what that specific double D you're referring to means, but I can honestly say that as far as those two letters in correlation with one another, I've never met a double D I didn't like. Oh, by when? 10:15 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Don't ask me what day, because that's tough. I will say this though, I'm really shocked. Would you like to know why I'm shocked? Okay, I'll tell you. Because clearly you're interested. Pretty sure he was referring to me. Ah, double D, got it. Digital drift, right? Of course, duh. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I've never met a digital drifter I didn't like. Silver, gold, and where's oil? Oil's at $90. Does anybody see a problem with that? Any problem? Bueller? It should be at 150 minimum. We've put ourselves in a situation that is so unbelievably desperate that we can't get out of it now. There's no way around this self-made disaster, this cataclysm of financial fuckery that the idiots in Washington got us into. And of course, not just Washington, but Tel Aviv. These two groups of fucking geniuses have managed to, and by the way, when you say that it's, well, I was about to address that, Pam. When you say it's the Epstein class, that excuse no longer holds. And the reason I say that is because when you fuck up everything from the ability to build data centers to the ability to ship oil to China so that they can make the infrastructure necessary, blah, 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 blah. When you've gone that far with a completely pointless, thoughtless war, simply because you want to control the Middle East and you already control Washington, D.C., you're not thinking about the Epstein class, because those billionaires are connected to the economy, which is now going to tank. Now, will that hurt them as much as it'll hurt us? No, of course not. No. Yeah, that's true. Well, I know that our strategic reserve is running out very quickly. Let's find out just where we're at with that. How much of the strategic oil reserve have we used in the last 60 days? Oof. Well, in the last 60 days, we've drawn down 35 million barrels of oil, about 10%. We did have at one point 400 million barrels, but now we're down to 350 barrels, 350 million barrels. That is, how many barrels of oil does the world go through for energy per day? That's what I thought. We go through approximately 105 million barrels a day of oil. How much oil is coming out of the Middle East as of the beginning of the war? At the outbreak of the war in February, the average was 20 million barrels per day, about 20%. Let's see. Wow. This is nuts. They were making at the outbreak of the war, the Middle East was putting out 20 million barrels per day. They're down to less than 10% of that level. That means that they're producing 2 million barrels or less per day. 2 million barrels a day instead of 20. Guys, how much oil has Venezuela been producing for the last 5 years? Their crude oil production has grown steadily in recent years, which is a lot. That's not what we were told. We were told a lie. Recovering from a low of 500,000 barrels a day to 800,000 barrels a day. And let's see. Earlier in the decade, it was roughly 1.1 million barrels per day. So they've actually been going up. Wow. 2024, 900,000 barrels. Early 2025, it climbed to 1. Okay. So we were actually at the highest. Earlier in 2021, they put out 600,000 barrels per day. This year, they were in the process of putting out 1.1 million barrels per day. How much oil is Venezuela producing right now? Let's see. April, they don't have May. They don't have May and they don't have June, but they have April. Let's see. Looks like 1,000K. What does that mean, fuckers? Come on. Does that mean 1 million barrels? So they're back to 1 million barrels a day. That's very interesting. 1 million barrels a day. I'm very curious about something. Are you curious about who's getting that money? Who's receiving the money from the sales of oil in Venezuela? Proceeds from Venezuela oil sales are currently collected by the U.S. government, which holds the revenues in the U.S. Treasury. Yeah, and I'll bet they'll give that back. I'm sure they will. Why would the United States of America ever fuck anybody out of any money? You know what I'm saying? It's just not in our nature, especially not the federal government. that loves everybody. So, how much does a barrel of Venezuelan crude oil cost on the open market now? $90 a barrel. Okay. Okay, all right. So we're looking at $90 a barrel times over 1 million barrels a day. How much is Venezuela making on oil per day in April of this year? Wow. For a country that we say couldn't afford to pay for anything, that was super poor, they're bringing in $3.7 billion a month, or $123 million a day in oil. Think about that. $123 million per day. How many people live in Venezuela right now? $31 million people. What is 3.7 billion divided by 31 million? So it's $119 per person for every single man, woman, and child living in that country. So for a family of 5, that would be what, $600? Okay. What does the average person make in Venezuela per year? Between $1,500 and $3,000 per year. See why I don't have a lot of faith in our government anymore? Government workers, teachers, and healthcare staff often make a statutory minimum wage base that sits at around $3 to $10 per month, supplemented by government food and benefit bonuses that bring their actual monthly take home closer to 50 to as much as $150 per month. $150 per month for government workers. In the United States, I believe it's about $100,000 for a government worker. What does the average United States federal worker make per year? Sit down, folks. Approximately $106,382. $106,000 to be a government worker here in the United States. Sit on your ass and do nothing all day. There, you make between $50 and $150 per month. So here you get $106,000. There you get $1,800 a year. Mm-hmm. Do you see what the problem here might be? Let's see. Engineers, technicians, and management can make upwards of $300 to $500 a month. Ooh. Well, now that's awe-inspiring. So, yeah, this is really sad. And you're looking at $120. And by the way, that average person is obviously an adult. Children don't work. So the elderly and the children are not involved in that. So you can cut that down by probably a third. How many people in Venezuela are between 15 and 50? 12 million. 12 million people. Son of a bitch. That is absolutely sad. That is really, really sad. Now, the good news is that there's a good amount of those people that are between 15 and 24, 5 million of them. That's good. It's good for the country. 25 to 39 is another 5.4. So, I don't think there are a lot of very old people in Venezuela, unfortunately for them. But it's very, very interesting. Yeah, it's amazing. So anyway, for those of you who speak Spanish, what's the average yearly wage in Mexico? Yeah, that's what I thought. Their daily, it's average salary is not $1,500 to $3,000. It's $12,000 to $14,000. That's what I thought. Let's see. While the OECD reported an average annual wage of roughly $20,400, take-home pay is typically 10 to 30% lower after income tax and Social Security. Oh, they have Social Security. I'll be damned. Who knew? Yeah, the IT industry. Wow. All right. Yeah, there's some good paying jobs, man. Professionals with a bachelor degree typically earn $9,500, while with a master's, you can earn between $15,000 and $23,000 annually. I mean, it's not the United States of America, but it's close. Well, it really depends on what metric you use. And I'll show you what I mean. What is the real, hold on, how do I say that correctly? What is the real individual income for a salary worker in the United States in 2026? The nominal average, nope, that's not what I said. With the median, that's not what I said. Let's see. God, they're so fucking full of shit. God, I fucking hate the way they do this. I hate the way they lie to us. Okay. It says here, the average personal per capita income is $76,000. Sure. By the way, does the U.S. average per capita income include Elon Musk and Bill Gates? Yes. Yes, it does. Um, the US average or mean per capita income includes Elon Musk and Bill Gates. Got it. Okay. I see. What percentage of the US economy is Elon Musk? Just by himself, just alone. 2.7%. What is the average weekly wage of a salary worker in the United States? Mm-hmm. Okay, they're saying $1,300 a week. That's not even close. Now this is where it's going to get interesting. I went to Fred, the Federal Reserve. This is where it gets interesting. Um, Average weekly earnings for all employees, total private. Okay. Let's see. Population, employment, average hourly earnings. Hmm. Boy, they sure do make it tough to find some shit. Let's see. Education. I just found it the other day, and it was $374. I just got this shirt. Let's see. Labor market conditions. Well, I answer that. I don't need the graph. It's shitty. But let's see. Average weekly earnings. Weekly earnings for hourly workers. This will probably be interesting. Non-farm business sector average weekly earnings for all workers. Okay, they gave me a graph that doesn't answer any questions. Love how they do this, man. They make it so fucking hard. Average hours. Nope. Don't want to know what the average hours worked are. Average weekly earnings. Median usual weekly real earnings. Bingo. Employed full time. Sit down for this one. Don't sit down unless you're sitting down on a toilet because you're going to shit yourself when you see how bad the United States of America is right now. Employed full time, not part time, not 1 hour a week, full time. Median usual weekly real earnings, wage and salary workers, 16 years and over. That's everybody. in the year 2000, you made a total of, let's see, $335 a week. That was the average. $335 a week. That was a quarter of a century ago, 26 years ago. Now, in the third quarter of 2025, 9 months ago, the average was not $334. As you can imagine, over a quarter of a century, it's gone up dramatically. It is now $375. Am I doing the math correctly when I say that it's gone up by $31? Now, I'm going to repeat this again because I want you folks to really zero in on this. What the fuck is wrong with this country? What is wrong with the United States of America right now? What is wrong with the greatest country that's ever existed on any planet, anywhere in the whole fucking universe, not just the Milky Way? Well, let me put it to you this way. We can go back to 2000. And by the way, this is really horrifying that in 2002, it was $340, only $30 difference. But here's where it's really terrifying. In 1986, 4 fucking decades ago, we're talking about almost a half a century ago, the average employed full-time median usual weekly real earnings, wage and salary workers for 16 years old and older were, in 1986, $331. $331. $331 in 1986. Well, let's just figure this shit out, shall we? Because somebody's getting fucked hard, and it's not the billionaire Epstein class. What was the average price of a home in the United States in 1986? Median sales price hovered around $92,000. So if you were making let's go back and check, $331 per week, you were making $15,000 per year. So let's say that you took home $12,000, and the mortgage on a $92,000 home was probably $300-400. Okay. Well, construction workers are a very tiny part of our economy, unfortunately. And I totally agree with them. If you're not making at least $250 a day net, you can't buy a home. Period. Everybody knows that. And that's if your wife works too. If you're a construction worker and you're trying to support a family on $60K, good luck. You're going to take home $45. How the fuck are you going to make a mortgage payment with 45 grand? It's $30,000 for a mortgage payment now. What was the average car cost in 1986? The general average was $12,000. A luxury car was 13. The average, let's see, typical compact car was 10,000. What does the average car in the United States cost today? Let's say 49. Costs about $49,000 to $50,000. Average, the industry average transaction price is $49,353. So the cost of a car has gone up by 400%. The cost of a home has gone up by over 400%. And the amount that your weekly wage has gone up, let's just check, because today it is $376. What is the exact percentage difference between 331 and 376? 12%, 12.7%. 12.7%. What is 12.7% divided by 40 years? Okay, that did not come out right at all. If something goes up by 12% over 40 years, how much per year is that? If something goes up, okay, you're ignoring me. Don't do that. If something goes up by 12% over 40 years, how much increase per year is that? Okay, so it's an annual increase of 1/3 of 1%. 1/3 of 1%. Silver's doing something that most people don't even realize. It's not just holding its value against inflation, it's actually going up tremendously above and beyond inflation by a long shot. I'll give you an example. We just found out that the average wage between 1986 and today over 40 years has increased by 12.7%, or basically 1/3 of 1% per year increase for the last 40 years. While inflation, how much has inflation gone up on average since 1986? Are you guys fucking sitting down? Jesus Christ, this makes me so fucking angry. I can't believe it. Average annual inflation rate in the United States has gone up by 203.8%. 203%. And wages have gone up 12%. What the? Yes, everybody does need to buy silver, and I'll show you why right now. I can't believe that statistic. I've never looked that one up before. 203%, and they've raised our wages 12%. When I say they, the Epstein class, the billionaires who are stealing all of our money. And why? Well, because, they have to give it to the shareholders. It's shareholder profit's the most important thing. Look, I could get in trouble financially and legally if I don't make them the most money possible. Oh, well, that's a handy goddamn excuse to screw everybody else in the country who can't afford to buy your stock. And since they can't afford to buy your stock, you don't pay them enough to ever get to a point where they can afford to buy your stock. That's handy. It's like a self-perpetuating club that doesn't let anybody in unless they're already in. What was the price of silver per ounce in 1986? It fluctuated between $4.85 and $6. So let's call it $5.40. So if it's $5.40, how much as a percentage has silver gone up since 1986? It's gone up 1,200%. Inflation's gone up 200%. We just saw that, 208%. Your wages have gone up 12%, and silver has gone up by 1,200%. So clearly it is destroying inflation. You got a problem with using real wages only. I don't want all their bullshit wages. Our wage now is 370, what is it? $374. It's, $376 a week is what we make now, as opposed to 300 and let's see, $335 in 2000. So 335 all the way up to 376. 41? Is that 41? $41. I have no idea. That's not something that the Fed's going to keep track of. Real adjust for inflation. No, it's specifically the dollar amount. And that's why I did it this way. I don't want the oh, well, back then it was actually, no. How much was it in actual dollars? It was $341. And how much is it in actual dollars now? $371. Whoa. Okay. That's nuts. That's one of the most shocking statistics I've ever seen. And they don't lie about it. It's right here. And by the way, here's another good one. You'll love this. Real median household income in the United States. And just in case you wanted to feel bad, according to our government, the average household, just average household makes $83,700 a year. So if you and your honey lamb aren't making that much, apparently you're supposed to feel like losers. Now, does the real median household income include teenagers that are living at home working? Yes. Your 28-year-old who just graduated college and can't find a job other than Uber? Yeah, well, that counts as your household income. What about your 85-year-old dad's Social Security? Yep, that counts too. Oh, okay. I got it. And by the way, yes, we are averaged in with people like Bezos and Musk and Bill Gates. What would be the average person's net worth if you removed Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk from it? Removing Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk from the global wealth pool, of course, drops the average person's net worth globally from roughly 87,000 to 86,000. You see how they did that? Globally, because there's 8 billion people in the world. What would the average US citizen's net worth be if you remove Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk from the calculations? Removing Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk from US wealth calculations reduces the national average household net worth by roughly $6,000 to $8,000 each. That's fucking awesome. Oh my God, this is so great. What? Lowering it from the official Federal Reserve average of 1.6 million to approximately 1.5 million per household. Google's telling us that the average household in the United States, what would the average US citizen's net worth be if you remove these three guys? So not household, the average US citizen, according to this, has a net worth of $1.5 million per household. The explanation for this seemingly small drop is in the difference between the total national wealth and the mathematical reality of averages. The billionaires' share, even though their combined net worth is massive, totaling roughly 700 to 800 billion, depending on market fluctuations, they account for less than 0.5% of the total wealth pie. What is the percentage of assets nationally that the richest 18,500 people in the US have? The richest 18,500 people in the US, which corresponds to the top 1/100th of 1% of households, hold an estimated 13 to 15% of the nation's total household wealth. That's funny. The last time I checked, it was 89%. In absolute dollars, that's different. This highly elite group controls over 20 trillion of the nation's assets. 20 trillion of the nation's assets. Let's see. What percentage of Americans have a net worth of $1 million? A fuck ton. 8.8%. Yeah. Roughly 1 in 11 has a net worth of $1 million or more. What is top 5% net worth? To be in the top 5% of American households, you need to have a net worth of roughly $1.2 to $3.8 million. Okay. How much does it go up in Mississippi if they moved there? That's something I don't even know that Google could calculate, but it's several 100%, I'm sure. Let's see. So 60 million millions. What is 60 million millions? 60 million millions is 60 trillion. Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I fucking thought. Hey guys, the Fed says that we just got lied to. How much the net worth being held by the top 1%? Top 1%. Okay, US economy, good. Okay. So, according to this, the top 1% of people in the United States own a total of $55.9 trillion in assets. The top 1%, okay, so just so we're clear, that's the fourth quarter of last year. Let's do the math. There's 340 million people. That means there are 3.4 million people, 3.4 million, probably most of those in the top couple percent, own $55.9 trillion. Well, default. If you don't care how much they steal from you every week, then you're never going to get rich. That's kind of the name of the game. See, we're in a low trust society now. We used to be in a high trust society. We used to be in a society where in 1968, people across all walks of life, black, white, Hispanic, were asked, would you be okay with paying higher income taxes federally? And 80% of them said, yes, I'd be okay with paying higher federal income taxes if it went to a good cause. There is zero chance that 80% of the United States of America would say that now. Zero chance. Because we don't believe in our government anymore. And we don't believe that that is going to ever happen again. So basically, it's every man for himself, unfortunately. And that's not something that I did. I did my part. I did everything I was supposed to do. I left high school to join the Marine Corps. I did all the right stuff. I worked in finance to work my way up. And bottom line is, what I saw disgusted me. I saw a group of people that were just trying to steal everything that wasn't bolted down. And if you weren't as cannibalistic and carnivorous as they were, then fuck you. They were just going to take yours too. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally hardworking. That's why their children turn out to be such pieces of shit. Why didn't you ever come to a soccer practice, Daddy? Well, because I had to buy you that BMW that you got your sophomore year, princess. I grew up with that, okay? I grew up in that area. I was born and raised in the Hollywood Hills. And I can tell you, the last time I saw Smokey Robinson's son, I was dumping him on the front lawn, And Smokey came out to thank me for driving him home and told me, keep the car for a while. Now, he didn't mean a day. He meant just take it for a week or so, because he bought this 325 IS for his son, who drove it drunk all the fucking time and passed out in the middle of nowhere and never came home on time and all this other shit. This is the Smokey Robinson. These are the kids I hung around with, and they were worthless. I was lucky because my parents had to just bust their ass to keep up with everybody else. But yeah, if you think that we're lucky to live here now, well, good for you. You're the guy they're looking for, because you're the one that they're screwing over, and you're smiling about it. God bless you. Well, their default, I have been to a lot of other countries. The first time I saw slums in the Philippines, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Now, if your defense of why a tiny percentage of people in this country are stealing from all of the rest of us is, well, it's better than the Philippines, you're the horse's ass they're looking for. You're that guy. You're the one that everybody prays they meet in an alley, because they don't have to rob you. You'll just hand them your wallet for, to be nice. Think about it, man. The idea that, hey, well, go to Juarez. They'd love you in Juarez. And by the way, I've been to Juarez too, and it is absolutely horrific down there. Does that mean I'm okay with somebody like DuPont dumping Teflon into the Ohio River and giving 300,000 people irreversible forms of cancer? Well, according to you, it's okay because I'm richer than, all these other people around the world. No, I'm not cool with that at all. So, yeah, I did. I made it back. The bottom line is this. If your attitude is, well, we're doing okay, we should quit here. No. I want the United States of America that every politician has promised me since the day I was born, and I've never had once. My great-grandfather had it, and his grandfather had it. I've never had it, ever. Well, I can't really complain too much about being tall, but, the bottom line is this. When I look at this number and I see that the top 1% has $55.9 trillion, are you shitting me? Let me ask you this. And this is one that you could just stew on for the rest of the night. If Jesus were here right now and he could sit that 1% down, what do you think he would say to them with their $55.9 trillion all stored up for themselves and nobody else? What do you think that Jesus Christ would say to a guy who says that $500 million isn't enough? That's exactly right. But greed is literally the love language of Americans. Greed. Bigger boat, bigger house, bigger motorhome, bigger fucking SUV. Jeep? Yeah, of course I got a Jeep. You ever go four-wheeling? No, man, I don't know if I can get it all fucked up. Why do you have a Jeep? Because of what it says about me. It gets 8 miles per gallon. Yeah, but it says I'm an adventurous guy. But you're not. Yeah, but it says I am. Oh, okay. Well, that's stupid. It's like, what the hell, man? Anybody who drives a Jeep who's not out four-wheeling every weekend, you're a goddamn idiot. You're literally riding around in the most uncomfortable, bounciest, beat your kidneys till you piss blood vehicle on earth. And why are you doing it? So you can look like your testosterone level's so high you got a hard on 23 hours a day. Oh, good for you. Okay. Well, that's nice. And I'm sure that the Vietnamese girls are super impressed when you pull up for your fucking mani-pedi. This country has lost the script. Yeah, everybody's Jeep rides like a fucking tank. It's just nuts. $55 trillion. God. It's hard for me to even wrap my head around. I mean, I'm a numbers guy, but damn. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's go big here. Let's look at the, come on now. Give me here it is. All right, come on. Now, U.S. population, 343 million. We all need to toughen up to the point where we don't need to buy a Humvee. But finding a billionaire, having a nice long talk with him about why. I'll give you an example. Do you think that I hate Elon Musk? No, not at all. Hey, man. This is the most successful African American in history. As a matter of fact, he's the most successful human in history, financially, and I would say in other ways as well. He's about to make us an interplanetary species. Two to 300 might be a little optimistic, but I do like Michael Oliver. He's not fucking stupid. That's a fact. Guy is all there. I mean, that's a fact. But I mean, I would stick with the low end of that. I'd say 150 to 200. Like if he said 175, I wouldn't argue with him at all. I'd say, okay, maybe I'm low because I'm saying 250 or 150. But 300, 3 months. Ooh. Yeah, sharp cats. These guys are, they know what they're doing. And like I said, I predicted $300 silver by December. And I said, when it was skyrocketing, that it was making me nervous. It was going up too fast and we were going to have a correction, and we did. So, but that doesn't change. That doesn't change the fact that the COMEX can't keep this lie going for much longer because we need silver. Silver's not just a precious metal anymore. You can't just manipulate it by coming up with a fake market of paper silver. Because at some point, at the end of the day, fuckers need silver. They need the silver to actually make products with. Well, what are you going to do? Ship them receipts? See, that's a beautiful part, is the actual need for silver for electronics has broken the counterfeit market. And when I say counterfeit, I'm not joking. I'm not being a smartass. It's not me being sarcastic. The COMEX is, in all senses of the word, counterfeit. It's a Ponzi scheme that's built on counterfeit silver that you never see. Here's your silver. Well, that's a receipt, but it means you have the silver. So you're saying that by buying this contract, you have 5,000 ounces of silver set aside for me. Oh, sure, absolutely. No question. Yeah, in reality, they might have 5 ounces total. They're making contracts that they have absolutely zero way of filling, but that's because they know that traditionally 98, 99% of people who have the contracts are just trying to make money. They don't want the silver. They just want to make money on silver. And they see the spread doing this or the potential inflation doing that. And okay, well, I think maybe we'll make a little money here. And that's all they're doing. They don't actually want 5,000 ounces of fucking silver in their lap. Now they do. Oops. COMEX wasn't built for that. COMEX was built, and I read the paper, the white paper that started the whole idea of the COMEX paper market. It was a, and I quote, parallel market to relieve the upward pressure on precious metals. Relieve the upward pressure on precious metals. What does that mean? Well, that means that when they took us off the gold standard, silver and gold started to go up really fast. Why? Because nobody wanted the bullshit paper dollars. Nobody back then was stupid. They didn't want this. They wanted real money. Well, that's a problem. Unless, of course, you can have them buy gold and silver without actually buying gold and silver. Ah, now that's cool. And that's what they did. They just came up with a fictitious fake market and let you buy into that. Why are they going by the number they set? I don't understand what you mean by that. They're literally using margin calls to force the price down. Solar bills, fake money. Oh, dollar bills. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, because the thing is that when you have a situation where you have a gold-backed dollar, if you don't have more gold, then you can't print more dollars. And if you can't print more dollars, you can't go to war all around the world. Well, if you can't go to war all around the world, how do you control other people's natural resources? See, that's the thing about this. If I were the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, I could print these out of thin air and then use them to buy actual real assets. If this tape measure were actually gold, it would be at least a kilo. So at least 30 ounces. So you're looking at well over, what would that be? $120,000 worth of actual physical money for the last 10,000 years. So if I can print these and buy this, well, these are going to go away eventually. We all know that. They all do. There's been over 200 forms of fiat currency in the last 5,000 years, and they've all taken a shit. They've all gone sideways. Why? Because politicians are all the worst human beings in our society. That's the reality. They're all terrible human beings. I mean, look at them all. They're all, look, Mitt Romney, okay? He's a Mormon. Well, Mormons are not allowed to smoke. They're not allowed to drink coffee because you're supposed to treat your body like a temple, right? So smoking is a huge issue. You do not smoke cigarettes if you are truly part of the real church. They sent Mitt Romney, this paragon of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They sent him over to Russia to help fix the economy back in the early 90s. And what did he do? He came back and he showed R.J. Reynolds, the tobacco company that makes Marlboros and Winston and all that shit. He showed them that the Soviets the government owned tobacco factories. They made cigarettes. And because the cigarettes weren't that great, only about 25% of people in the entire country smoked. The whole Soviet Union was basically non-smokers. However, with good branding and good advertising and maybe a little bit better cigarette quality, they could probably capture 75% of all adults. So the United States government sent this Mormon over to the Soviet Union after it collapsed to help privatize businesses and and help Russians become more like Americans. Because all they wanted was to have a free market economy like ours. But instead of doing that, what he did was he told RJR, we can buy up their old Soviet factories for making cigarettes for a penny on the dollar. Then we can use some really slick Western advertising that they've never been exposed to before. And we could probably get every fucker in the entire country to smoke. And they did. They did. And Mitt Romney made millions and millions and millions of dollars off of making sure that everybody in the whole fucking Soviet Union started doing something that we had already proved beyond any reasonable doubt killed you. He's not a Mormon. Mitt Romney is an evil, evil demon dressed as a religious figure, like they all do. That anybody who stands up and says, I am religion in and of itself, that's a demon, guaranteed. So, that's why I hate government. You're supposed to hate your government. Anybody who loves their government got suckered. If you love Democrats because you're a Democrat, you're an idiot. If you think MAGA is the greatest thing since sliced bread, you are absolutely zero IQ. You're not supposed to love your government. You're supposed to threaten them and tolerate them at most. Threaten them constantly with replacement. Do what I tell you or I will replace you. But we're doing the best we can. No, it's not good enough. Do better or I will replace you. I'm going to make sure that you get primaried. But I did everything you asked. No, you did 90% of what I asked, and that's not good enough. Do you know how much Congress does now for the United States of America? This is an absolute fucking statistic. Look it up. The representatives in the Senate and the Congress vote with their constituents 11% of the time. 11% of the time? Who are you voting with the other 89% of the time? I don't have to tell you. Whoever's got the most money in their fist, put in their face. Look how much I got for you. Except AIPAC, because they can say, look how much I got for you. And by the way, if you don't do what we tell you, we'll make damn sure you never get to be a congressman again. Oh, and by the way, if you're an Epsteiner, there's the pictures of you and that 12-year-old boy. Hate for those to come out. That would suck. And then you got guys like Lindsey Graham that are like, well, we're just going to go to war with Iran because that's what we should do, and we're just going to blow them till their knees. Woo, tough guy. Man, you are something else, tough guy. I am sure that there are a lot of men who have been blown to their knees by you. That was hilarious. That didn't make any sense at all. Why are we going by the spot price they set for silver? That's just what we do. I mean, when you say we, obviously Shanghai is different. Shanghai is like, I want to say $13 to $15 higher. You can't actually buy silver at spot price anymore. Wholesale is above spot price now. So what is spot price? What does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. That's it. It doesn't mean anything. It sucks. But that's theoretically what the world's price is, even though it's not even close. Eventually the market will break. It'll break. And when it does, they'll come up with another way to manipulate the price. They have to. Come on. I mean, let's face it. Should gold be at 4,500? No. It should be at 9 or 10,000. Based on how much we've printed. Should silver be at what it's really at, 75 or 80. No, not at all. It should be at 300 already. So you can only manipulate the market for so long, and then it'll break. And when it breaks, well, they'll change it. They'll fix it. Um, let's see. Oh, and by the way, as far as another reason that you want silver now, um, U.S. national debt's about to hit $40 trillion, but that's the U.S. debt. U.S. What's unfunded liabilities, which is another way of saying debt. U.S. Unfunded liabilities. Let's see, 39 trillion, and then here's the number. On top of that 39 trillion, let's just call it 40 trillion. On top of that 40 trillion, there's another 108 trillion dollars. It's 108 trillion 212 billion $789 million. Now, this is the total U.S. debt, but not this national debt. This is the total debt in terms of things like Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, all of this other stuff. Put it all together, and you have an enormous amount of money. $6.9 trillion in interest is paid. There are people with little hats out there that are literally making $7 trillion a year on debt. They are so happy to keep the entire world in debt and in this debt-based operating system. Wow, this is going to blow your mind. As far as currency and credit derivatives right now, this is hard to even believe. There are, and this is CDSs, this is what brought down everything in 2008. This is what created the financial crisis, because there were $179 trillion worth of CDSs out there, synthetic debt obligations, CDOs. It was horrible, but it was 179 trillion. Now it's $911 trillion. 911 trillion 522 billion. Now, what are these derivatives? Well, these credit default swaps, synthetic derivatives, synthetic debt obligations, these are all bets. They're bets. They're bets made on or for different things. Like I could take a credit default swap out on an insurance policy. Now, theoretically, that's illegal to do on, like, I can't take a life insurance policy out on an employee. I mean, well, if I'm Walmart, I can, but I can't take, if you were my neighbor, I can't take life insurance out on you. I can't take home insurance out on your home for obvious reasons, because then it would give me an incentive to make sure your home burned down or you died. So you can't do that. But I could take out a credit default swap, just like they did in The Big Short, And I could say that I'll give you $1 million a year to hold on to this credit default swap. But if the market drops by over 10,000 points, the Dow Jones Industrial Average drops by more than 10,000 points, then you owe me $100 million. And you say, okay, so for how long? And I go, 3 years. So you give me $3 million over 3 years on a bet that the Dow Jones Industrial Average will crash more than 10,000 points down. Yeah. Okay, I'll take your bet. Well, every year that goes by that it doesn't happen, you got to give me $1 million. It's pretty good income for me. If I know something you don't, like there's no way it's going to crash. The economy's just getting way too strong. Money's getting cheaper, not more expensive. And we all know that cheap money keeps the Dow Jones spiraling. So, okay, but what happens if it does crash? Well, in that really crazy freak accident sort of a scenario, you'd owe me $100 million. But that's okay because you went and made a side bet. You made a side bet that the Dow might collapse by 10,000 points. And if it did, you wanted $105 million and you were willing to pay $500,000 a year. Now, if you found somebody to take that bet, not only did you just cover the bet that you made with me, but you covered it for half the price. So regardless, you're going to make money. If it does collapse, you make $5 million. If it doesn't collapse, you still get to keep half the money I give you because you found somebody else stupid enough to cover that bet for half the price. Wow. Okay, well, who sets the value of these bets? You do, and the guy that you're betting with. It's a completely uncontrolled market. Completely uncontrolled. No regulators. It's just like the Federal Reserve. Who regulates the Federal Reserve? No one. Well, the federal government's got to have somebody that keeps an eye on them. Nope, absolutely not. The first time I saw that question asked, a woman interviewing Alan Greenspan asked, she said, so who is in charge of overseeing the Fed, of monitoring the Fed? And he looked at her and he chuckled and he goes, there's no oversight of the Fed. We don't need oversight. We oversee ourselves. And I thought, wow, you arrogant son of a bitch. Alan Greenspan was one of the worst economists to ever walk the face of the earth. His only endearing quality was that other than kissing Ayn Rand's ass and probably sleeping with her when he was a student, most likely, on top of that, his most endearing quality was that he could play the saxophone rather well. By the way, the WTF is wrong with you is back. And just so we're clear, it's not the reason that I got banned. So don't be mad at it. She's, by the way, sadly mistaken because she thinks that I'm MAGA or that I like Donald Trump or something. So in her total ignorance, she started harassing me and has harassed me for day after day after day, even though I probably dislike Donald Trump more than she does. However, I will say this, the difference between us is she does not have the guts to post her face on her channel. She only posts other people's work. She doesn't do her own work, and she doesn't do live streams, and she doesn't put her face on there. No personal information, because being a coward means you don't want people to know who you are. Because if you're like me and you put your face out there, you get trolled like this. She doesn't get trolled because she doesn't do her own content because she's afraid. I think that's kind of a liberal thing. Liberals typically are. I got myself banned. That's exactly what I just said. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you in the other room going pee-pee or something? So anyway, the bottom line is that with like 900 followers or whatever, nobody even knows who this person is, other than they really don't do anything. They follow 10,000 people. They probably harass most of them, and that's about it. So, what do you do? There we go. And that's the end of that turd. There we go. Once they get in their mind that oh yeah, that's the sad part. There's absolutely zero chance that she could ever listen to what I was saying, and that I don't like Democrats or Republicans. I don't like politicians. I don't like the government, and I never have. But, that's just one of those things where as soon as you say something that they can misinterpret, they're like, oh, I know who you are. You're a white man. That means you're evil. You've done everything bad that's ever been done to anybody ever. You should be ashamed of yourself. Because I liked Brad Pitt as Achilles instead of Elliot Page. Yeah, I feel real bad about that. Like, when I think of Achilles, I always think of somebody the size of my pinky finger. I have a funny feeling this movie, The Odyssey, is going to be just Hollywood regurgitating its own bullshit. They're going to be talking about cultural appropriation while they put a black woman in as a Greek woman. Oh, well, Helen of Troy was Greek. She doesn't have to be. Oh, okay. Yes, that's exactly right. And Achilles, Achilles can be a trans. Well, I don't think is Elliot Page. What do you consider Elliot Page? I don't know what that would be. I mean, obviously born as a girl, but she. How do you become a boy if you're a girl? Like, what do you have? What is that called? What's the procedure called? An addictomy? I don't know. That's a tough one because you got to have, like, if you don't have the right stuff, like, do you get it off a cadaver or how does that work? Yeah, as they increase taxes. Oh, wow, federal fraud. It shows here that we're up to $700 billion so far in federal fraud for the year. God, you gotta love it. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna go do my thing. But yeah, buying some silver right now would probably be a very, very good idea while it's still down before it starts to charge uphill again. One of two things is true. It'll either go up. It could double because of inflationary pressure, because nobody can explain, nobody that I know of, no good economist can explain why we're not at $200 a barrel for oil, or at least 150. It makes no sense at all unless somebody in the White House or somebody in a position of tremendous power is putting a huge amount of pressure on these oil companies. Because, look, this can't go on. We've cut off an enormous amount of oil supply to the entire world for months and months and months. You just can't go back and fix that in a week or two or three or a month. It could take years to fix what we've broken already. Some of these wells have already been shut down. When you shut down a well or an oil field, or God forbid, an entire refinery, it takes a year, 18 months to fire them back up. Well, okay, why is the price not skyrocketing? It should be. It should easily be over $100. Yeah, Desert Storm was exactly what normally would happen. And Iraq is, Iraq's a big oil field, but it's the third largest oil field in the Middle East behind Iran. It's Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq. And, Iran shut down. Trump is playing 12D chess. Yeah, well, if the D stands for dementia, yes. He is begging them to stop bombing each other now. He is literally begging them to stop throwing missiles at each other. And everybody in the Middle East is now ignoring Donald Trump. You can only say we're winning this war bigly 3 or 4 dozen times publicly, with everybody else involved in the war going, what the hell is he talking about? Nah, man, game on. And Donald Trump's out there going, car, hold on, time out, car. And everybody's like, car? Game on. Okay, but wait, I'm the Donald. Yeah, so fucking what? Nobody cares. I decide. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I'm the guy. I make the final decisions in the Middle East. No, you don't. Period. That's it. We don't import oil. We export. Our prices are high, and I don't know why. Well, that's the thing, is that, how much can we export, and then how much can we still have? Because the reality is, do I want to have to compete with Indonesia, with 175 million people that have no oil? No, I don't want to compete with them for oil. Well, they're going to pay a lot. Well, that means you're going to pay a lot. I don't want to do that. Why are we doing this? Well, because Benjamin Netanyahu said we had to. And finally, Donald Trump loses his temper. And by the way, he admitted this. If you didn't catch it, he said yes, that he did call Netanyahu crazy. He did say that everybody hates Israel now. He said all that. He said, yeah, it got a little heated, and I said those things. What, really? You admit to that? Yeah, he admitted to it in a different interview. And it's like, okay, well then, he said Netanyahu was going to prison if it weren't for him. He said that. He said that everybody hates Israel now. That's absolutely verifiably true. We all know that's true. You can buy all of the apps you want. You can censor the shit out of everybody in the world if you want to. But the reality is, none of us are stupid. Okay? The people who believe in God can only watch children being slaughtered for so long while still believing that we have to do everything we can to save you because you're God's chosen people. Well, guess what? After a while, somebody's going to actually read the New Testament. And when they do, they're going to go, wait a minute, this is all wrong. This doesn't say we have to protect them. It says that they got it all wrong and that we have a new deal now because they screwed theirs up. Okay, well, now we're talking. Okay, but what does that mean? Well, that means that those people that we're protecting, again, hate us. What? Yeah. After World War II, after we saved them from extinction, we helped them establish their own country, and then they turned around and, they killed a bunch of guys on the USS Liberty, even though they knew it was an American flag ship. 2 different flags, because after they shot the first one down, a second bigger flag was raised, and they shot at it too. It's kind of like saying, hey, we see it. Duh. We wouldn't be punching it full of holes if we didn't see it. But, their loyalty is to themselves and absolutely no one else. And, when you look at it's such a basic thing. I don't understand why people don't get this. It's so obvious. It's almost like it's so obvious that it's too obvious that when you ask anybody who is an Orthodox Jew, if they'll even talk to you as a non-Orthodox person, if you ask them about Jesus, they'll tell you that he's a terrible human being, that he was just a terrible, terrible person because he was an apostate. He turned his back on the true religion and he preached all this nonsense that is now the basis of Christianity, and that he was the son of a whore who slept with Roman soldiers. They even named the Roman soldier that got her pregnant while her husband was not around. They say horrible things about Christians. They hate our religion because they believe that Christ was such a horrible, absolutely nasty person that he stole all of us from our true religion, Judaism. We'd all be Jews if it weren't for him. There'd be 2 billion Jews in the world. Now there's only 15 million. Why is that? Well, because everywhere they go, people hate them. Why? Wait, what? Why? I've had people say everywhere you go, Americans are hated. People didn't hate me when I went to their country. Why not? Well, because you're not an asshole. Oh, so what's that mean if you've been kicked out of 109 countries in the last 2,000 years? Don't know. No, actually, Israel got us into Iraq and Afghanistan, plus Libya, plus Syria. Just on and on and on. Like most of the conflicts we've had were because of them. And so, interestingly enough, they've never helped us with any of them. They've gotten us into the conflicts, and then they've asked us for billions and billions and billions of dollars per year in aid. Why are we at war with Iran? Well, the president and the Secretary of Defense and the Vice President all said the same thing. And then they all changed their story a little later, but they all said the same thing pretty much on the same day, actually. And that was, we went after Iran because we knew that Israel was going to attack Iran with or without our help. And that if they attacked Iran without telling us about it, because they would do that, then we would be caught off guard when Iran assumed that we were helping Israel and started attacking our bases. So we attacked Iran because we knew Israel was going to attack Iran and we had to go first. Now, I know you're thinking that's the dumbest excuse I've ever heard for murdering thousands of innocent civilians. I can't disagree with you. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I'm not a pacifist. I'm not a pacifist at all. I was raised on John Wayne movies, and my dad was a gunsmith, and he was an extraordinarily violent Navy frogman who went to work for the CIA. And I was raised in an atmosphere of violence. My dad sometimes would wake up in the middle of the night and not know what was going on, and he'd be, half drunk. So, he'd come into my room and he would literally just open the door and toss a loaded 45 that had one up the pipe, and he'd toss it on my bed and he'd say, "It's hot, follow me." And he would have me help him clear rooms throughout the house before we went out into the backyard to find out if anybody was trying to break into our house. It was extraordinary. It was an extraordinary childhood. But my point is that I am not a pacifist. There are evil people in the world, and I fully endorse the way that evil people have been dealt with historically. But this whole thing with Iran, it's just odd. It's just odd. Like, you can't say that 93 million people are bad. They're not. I mean, I know Persians, I know Iranians. I mean, yeah, when I was 17, when I was in the Marine Corps, I thought they were all evil because I was a stupid kid. And of course I thought they were all evil. That's what I was told. But then as time goes on and you realize that, well, the world's not quite as black or white as you thought it was. Now, we do some sneaky shit too. So it's tit for tat. Yeah. Did they blow up the embassy? You bet your ass they did. 242 Marines, including uh, one of my buddies. One of my buddies from Florida, Fox, was a really cool guy. I went to boot camp with him. Went through ITS with him. Really nice guy. He was a surfer. How you surf in Florida, I don't even know because the waves suck. But I grew up in California. But really super cool guy. I don't even know why he was in the Marine Corps. Really, he was tough, but he was a surfer. Surfers are surfers, man. Wherever you go in the world, surfers are surfers, and they all have the same attitude. It's almost like little port towns, little port cities around the world, wherever they are. If they're on the ocean and it's a small port town, they all have the same personality. He got blown up, and was I pissed? Man, I wanted to go into Lebanon so bad, so bad. God, we were just chomping at the bit. And in early to mid 80s. And I just remember thinking, God, please let me somehow or another, get me off I think it was the Tarawa and onto the ground in Lebanon. And, tell us that we can lock and load empty clips, but they won't be empty. Guaranteed they won't be empty. Those are some orders I would have broken. But then, Reagan did something really probably very smart. He said, you know what? Fuck it. We're out of here. And he just pulled out. I'm not getting involved in this bullshit. And everybody was like, whoa, that was pretty weak. No, I don't think it was weak, actually. Now looking back, it was like, okay, you know what? Israel, you're not dragging me into this shit. And was it Hezbollah that did it? An Iran-backed militia group? As far as I could tell, it could have been Israel. Will Israel attack the United States in order to draw us into a wider conflict? In a fucking heartbeat. In a heartbeat, they would. Did they do it at the embassy? Was it actually Hezbollah that blew up the embassy? I don't know. Could have been. Doesn't mean it was. And if it was Hezbollah, were they backed by the Iranians? Don't know. That's what they said at the time. They also said Osama bin Laden was behind 9/11. And then they showed a guy who was clearly not Osama bin Laden bragging about it. What? That guy was 40, 50 pounds heavier, had jewelry on. Osama bin Laden didn't wear jewelry. He's not allowed to. But, again, it's all about, if we don't get out of Iran real quick, we're going to get sucked in bad. Wow. Now, you know what? This comment being censored, here, boom, I just uncensored it. That one being censored doesn't surprise me. Israel is behind 9/11. Well, if they weren't behind it, they were right next to it, pushing it along. Knowing that it's going to happen and letting it happen is, in my opinion, just as bad as making it happen. Now, were there a lot of Israelis in and around the Twin Towers in the months leading up to 9/11? Yes. There were some really odd, like security companies, computer companies that were all Israeli. And they were in the buildings on weekends and when it was off limits. And then all of a sudden they all broke their leases and just left right before 9/11. So it's, who knows? Who knows? We may know in 150 years, but, again, why do we hamstring our military when it comes to rules of engagement? Well, that's a tough one. Total war is something that you reserve for people that you actually consider enemies. And most of the people that we fight nowadays, they're not enemies. They're economic rivals. That's a very big delineation right there. Like you've got this demarcation line where it's like enemy. I'll give you an example. The Japanese during World War II. Well, hi, Cindy. The Japanese during World War II were our enemies, and they did not surrender. They did not give up. Strangely enough, when they did surrender, they never tried to get away. I've talked to Marines that were in Okinawa. They were on Tarawa. They were one of lived across the hall from me. Just the sweetest, nicest old man. One day we started talking, and he said, "Yeah, I saw your Marine Corps sticker on your Land Cruiser." I said, "Oh yeah, it's my cop repellent. Keeps the cops away." He said, "Yeah, I was in too." And I said, "Oh, what'd you do?" And he said, "Oh, I was in from 42 to 45. And I said, well, 42 to 45? Where were you? He said, "Oh, I landed on 23 different islands." And I was like, "Wait, you landed on 23 islands?" This guy's like, I don't know, maybe 5'8", $120. Like he's just an average, he's 85 years old. Really quiet guy. Just a super nice guy though. And I said, were you on Iwo Jima? He goes, "Oh yeah, I was on Iwo Jima." And I said, Iwo wasn't the worst of it, was it? He goes, "Oh, no. Iwo Jima was bad, but it wasn't the worst at all." And I said, "Was the worst like Tarawa or was it Peleliu?" And he goes, "Oh, you know about Peleliu, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, I know about Peleliu." And he goes, "Yeah, that was tough. That was a tough one. Tough one. It was total war. Total war. Absolutely 100% total war. Not this shit we've been doing in Iraq for 20 years or in Afghanistan. Mm-mm. You start at one end of the country and you go through and you destroy everything that smells like the enemy from one end to the other. You destroy everything that could possibly ever pop up as interference in you completely and totally taking over that country. Completely. Like when that country's done, it's your country. The people there don't even remember. Like, what did we celebrate? I don't know. We celebrated. We had a bunch of holidays. What were they? I don't know. I can't remember. You're damn right you can't remember, because we wiped out your entire socioeconomic system. We didn't do that in Iraq or Afghanistan. We went over there and played patty cake. Now, they played patty cake with some strap-on explosives that were pretty nasty, but we didn't try to win that war. That wasn't the point. So Vietnam was the same way. Vietnam wasn't total war. That was going over there and just, doing the cha-cha-cha for 10 years and spending hundreds of billions of dollars so that all the weapons manufacturers could get super rich. And then we said, okay, well, you know what? It's been fun, guys, but we're out of here. And we just got on our boats and sailed over the horizon and left that country in complete chaos. Tens of thousands of people who would risk their lives to help Americans so that we could make that country in our own image. And we said, yeah, whatever. See you later. And of course, those people got left behind, along with the CIA's records of who they were. Bad times. But that's exactly what Joe Biden just did in Afghanistan. We didn't just leave behind billions and billions and billions of dollars in equipment. We left behind the records of who helped us. And the Taliban's back in charge. And it's not really a waste of money, though, is it? If you think about it, it's like a waste. A waste would be taking money and just lighting it on fire. We're not wasting it. We're simply taking it from idiots like you and me, and we're giving it to people who deserve it. Like, I don't know, Jamie Dimon, CEO of the largest commercial bank on earth, JP Morgan. Who do you think finances these wars? Guys with little tiny skull hats. And they make billions of dollars a month. Billions of dollars a month. They make trillions of dollars a year. I mean, I just went over the numbers. Who do you think we owe all that money to? Commercial banks. And who runs these banks? You know, it's like, well, it's certainly not a guy named Jose Gonzalez who snuck across the border so he could be a gardener. I think who's running these banks. That guy's out there in 117 degrees in my city in the summertime, busting his ass to make your lawn look good. Yeah, we're all suffering. Except for just a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of us who have convinced us all that don't be angry, don't be jealous. You're going to be rich like me someday too. Oh, okay. Well, what are the odds that I'm ever going to have $1 billion? Well, it's good. It's real good. It's great. That's why the fact that I have $1 billion shouldn't make anybody mad. It's like, wait, you have $1 billion. You're hoarding money. I'm not hoarding money. Who are you to tell me how much money I'm allowed to have? What are you, communist? No, but I think $1 billion should be enough, right? No. Have you ever tried to get by on $1 billion? It's just a matter of scale, really. And I can tell you this, having made millions of dollars in a year, being married to a miserable woman who was never happy, no matter how much I made, I can tell you that, yeah, when she was buying $825 a month face lotion, yes, she was very good looking. When she was getting, $2,000 every 6-week haircuts, because it had to be just right. Well, and they colored it too. That's $2,000 for a haircut. Nobody's that stupid. So, but I can tell you that, yeah, she went through money like it absolutely meant nothing, because to her, it meant absolutely nothing. And people who are miserable tend to try to fix it by buying the best of everything. This is a tape measure. It's a Stanley. It's not digital. It won't fulfill all my dreams, and it won't build a house for me. But you know what? Good enough. It'll last me until I'm 150 if I live that long. That's good enough. Not for a rich guy. And that's the funny part, is that it's not hard to spend money. Making the money is not as hard as keeping the money. Spending it is easy. I'll give you an example. You see a nice house. You go, you know what? I like that house. And your wife says, you know what? I know how like super OCD I am, but this house is just so much like a resort. I wouldn't even care if people wore their shoes in the house. Really? Well, I was looking to spend $1 million, and this one's 2.9. I'd have to come up with another $1 million in 30 days. That's going to be a bitch, but okay, I'll do it. Why? Well, because your wife, who's very high maintenance and always slightly anxious, said that she could actually relax in this house. Okay, cool. Well, that's no big deal, right? I mean, what'd you just get yourself into? A $10,000 a month mortgage payment. Oh, all right. Well, 10 grand a month. I mean, come on, man up, right? Oh, but the electricity to cool that house in the summertime is $3,600 a month for your electric bill. Oh, mortgage insurance. Oh, your landscaping is $1,200 a month. You know what the best part about that house was? My pool guy, who had been my pool guy at my previous house, charged me the same amount of money for a normal house and that house because the pool was the same size pretty much. It was a little bigger, but he still charged me $125 a month. Love it. So that was, but other than that, I mean, everything was just absolutely insane. So my overhead at that house was just over $20,000 a month. 20 grand a month in, month out, baby. That doesn't stop. That's going to go on for years. And what does that do for you? Well, I mean, we had some fun parties there, but that's it. I mean, okay, so we had a few fun parties. So, yeah, the stress was nonstop, absolutely nonstop. And it finally got to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. She's still not happy. Nobody's happy. Everybody's stressed out. My daughters didn't like the house at all. They didn't want to bring their friends over because they didn't want their friends to think that they were like some kind of rich, spoiled brats. And when everybody else has, a really beautiful 4,000 square foot house, and your dad's the idiot with a 9,000 square foot house, it's like, why? Why do you have that house? Because I'm trying to compensate for something? I don't know. Because the woman who hates me most told me she'd be my friend if I bought it. I don't know. I mean, it's like, so I can tell you that spending money's easy. Being happy when you have that much responsibility, not so much. Now, I can tell you that of all the things that I did when I had money, that kind of money, where you're bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, the best parts were obvious. Going to NASA with my kids, going to space camp, going to, saying on Friday, hey, we're not doing anything this weekend. That's kind of boring. Monday's a holiday. You know what? Fuck it. Let's go to Washington, D.C. Let's go to the National Air and Space Museum. Okay. Next thing you know, there's an Uber pulling up. Next thing you know, after that, you're on your way to the airport. Yeah, you're buying tickets last minute. So what? Yeah, you get to the hotel and they don't have a reservation for you. So what? No big deal. Chances are the presidential suite's open because nobody wants to spend $3,000 for a night. I don't care. It's me and my kids. So that part's fun. Other than that, walking out to a garage full of cars and going, which car am I going to drive? I guess I'll drive that one. Where are the keys for it? It's like, oh, so what? That doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't make you happy. If I could pick one car, it would be the most impractical car I've ever owned. And I would drive it nonstop, even though it doesn't even have a fucking roof. A Cobra. I would literally drive an old Shelby Cobra all the time. Raining? I don't care. I don't care. I'll wear a hat, that kind of thing. And as far as like having all the other stuff, yeah. Well, it wasn't the traveling. It was the experiences with my kids. Being able to see my kids go, whoa, wow, that's so cool. Because doing it for yourself, you get a certain amount of pleasure out of something like that. Seeing your kids enjoy it for some reason, it's like a multiplier, you know? Instead of enjoying it, you enjoy it 5 times as much. So that is if you like having kids. I do. Oh, there are tons of them, and I got rid of most of them. Well, all of them are grown except for one. I've got one left, and yes, he and I will be doing lots of traveling at the end of summer. No, the income, making that much. Yes, I owned a business. Making that much money is something that you do for a specific reason. Right now, do I make anywhere near that much? No, I don't want to. I have no interest in making $400,000 in a month. That is so much work. It is so much stress. And what's the point? I live in a nice house, got a nice car, or in this case, truck. I sold my supercharged Jaguar so that I could buy an old truck. Do I still have the world's fastest motorcycle? Yeah, sure. Of course I've got that. Because every once in a while you just got to go have a little fun. But would I say that, I'll give you an example. If I met the right girl and she said, hey, let's travel the world. Okay, we're going to need millions of dollars for that. Okay, then let's make $1 million over the course of the next 12 months. Okay, let's do it. No problem. Not a problem at all. If I had a reason to make that kind of money, then I would. Now, do I have a reason to make a couple $100,000 between now and the end of the year so me and my boy can go screw around and see what Arkansas looks like and, go wherever? NASA definitely for sure. And just sort of, run around the country and have fun. Yeah, I've got a good motivation for that. Do I have good motivation to make $2.5 or $3 million? No, Hayabusas are for little children. I have a ZX14, which of course was made to beat the Hayabusa. I've had a Hayabusa. I love them, but I think my ZX14 actually handles better. RV lifestyle. I've thought about that too. But the key is for me. I've thought about this too. I talked to the boy and said, "Hey, man, what about we get a big ass sailboat and we go, I don't know, do something crazy like cross the Pacific?" And he said, "All right, I'm in." Unfortunately, after that, I showed him the show Deadliest Catch, and he was like, "That's what the ocean does?" I said, "Well, yeah, sometimes." He was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. So we like the adventure part. Now, the one thing I do need to teach him, he just turned 13. And the one thing I need to teach him, all the bullshit in school that they teach you that's totally irrelevant. I'm not going to teach him any of that stuff. He's homeschooled. He's not going to learn all that bullshit. What he's going to learn is he's going to learn how to invest, how to make money, and how to use your personality. He's already gonna start making YouTube videos and going on these adventures with me and just documenting it. There are a lot of people out there who wish that they could just let go. They can't. They never will, but they sure want to. So when they see somebody else like you or like me or like him letting go, they're like, "Oh yeah, I want to watch this. Like I want to follow them on YouTube." Okay, well, you know what? I got a buddy who decided to start doing YouTube. No, he's a mechanic. He fabricates stuff. He's a great fabricator. He builds all kinds of wild shit out of nothing. And he started making videos, and next thing you know, he's got 100,000 subs, and he's making $7,000 or $8,000 a month. I got another buddy. I remember when he had 5,000 people following him. He didn't make shit. Now he makes 40 grand a month on YouTube. When I started here, I didn't have 120,000 followers. I had I remember when I got to 10, I was like, all right, 10, I'm working on it. It's a couple days in, I'm got to 10. I remember getting to 100 and I was like, all right, 100. When I hit 1,000, I was like, wow, that's it. I'm retiring now. I had 1,000 followers. When I hit 100,000, I thought, hey, you dumb son of a bitch. Why didn't you do this on YouTube where they actually pay you? Although I got to admit, I've made $240 in the last 5 years with TikTok. That's total. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to retire on that, but there's a lot of ways to make money out there that are a lot more fun than working for a living. So find one of those. But yeah, the next few years are going to be really tough unless you're creative. And if you're creative, it's just like any other. I mean, I've gone through several recessions in my life now, and you know what? I look back and it's like, was that time tougher? I don't remember it being tougher. But everybody said that was a really bad recession. Where the hell was I for that? Hey, you know what? If you're creative, you're creative. Oh my God, being a chiropractor and doing YouTube videos, that'd be great. I've watched a few like that where they crunch people and you're like, oh God, that sounded terrible. And then they get up and they feel better. You're thinking, all right. Absolutely. That's the way to do it, Just keep your eyes open. There's opportunities everywhere. Even in this kind of market, there's opportunities everywhere. And, are they trying to get us to a point where it's a surveillance state and nobody makes any money ever? Yeah, they're trying. But guess what? The tighter you squeeze, the more slips through your fingers. That's just the way it is. There's always going to be opportunities for people who are clever. I don't know if they'll all be legal, but of course, my advice, especially since we're live on TikTok, is never, ever break a law. Laws are put in place to protect you, sometimes from yourself. And for everything that they do to surveil us, we'll come up with something so that they can't. Look, what else are you going to do, man? It's a game. The whole thing's a game. It's all a game. Look at it as a game. Oh, we're going to surveil you. Oh, no, you're not. Oh, we're going to tax you. Oh, no, you're not. We're going to limit how much you can make. Oh, that's what you think. We're going to limit how much you can move around the world. Oh, well, good luck with that. That's just the way it is, I have thought about doing a podcast. If I weren't such a fucking idiot, I'd be doing a podcast right now. But I don't know how to use software, and I don't know how to do a podcast without spending a ton of money to hire somebody to do a podcast. Now, once I get the backing to actually have all of the studio and the guy who knows how to use the camera correctly, all that stuff, who can set up lighting other than just one ring light, which is what I've got here, then yes, I think I'll have a very good podcast and it'll be super fun. I would love to do that on YouTube. So I've got some videos up there that are pretty good, but there's more. I mean, I did a podcast with Randall Carlson. That was fun. I'd like to do one with, I've got a couple other buddies that I think would be very interesting to do podcasts with. Graham Hancock, I would like to do a podcast with him. Who else? There's a ton of guys. Robert Schock. He's a little more mellow. It's hard to get a fun one. That's a good question. Right now I do silver and gold. That's what I sell, silver and gold, like this. I'm a wholesaler for all the big different dealers. So if you're going to buy some silver, buy it from me. Numbers in the bio. Actually, This is how low tech I am. How's that for low tech? Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to do this again. And then boom, boom. The market sniper. I like the sound of that. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go because I'm hungry. I haven't had, actually, technically, I haven't had lunch yet. So I'm going to go have some lunch. And then I'm going to work on figuring out how to use some of the software. I could see you with Mark Cuban. Oh, that would be fun. I got some good questions for that guy. He's got some explaining to do. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night for sure. Woo, I made 2 cents. 2 whole cents. That's crazy. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow.